Hey everybody, it's George. Okay, let's talk about liquidity. So first of all, liquidity, meaning what you have as available cash at any given point in time. Not stuff that you have in a brokerage account that you would sell off to create cash, but the actual cash you have in your bank account. So liquidity is formed through the sale of things, your cash flow on rentals, whatever, right? So you provide a service to somebody, they pay you for it. Put cash in your pocket. There are a lot of people who get into real estate, and because there's a lot of marketed material out there, we'll just call it that talks about how you get into real estate, no cost to you. Don't fall for that, okay? Everything costs something. Nothing's free, all right? Everything costs something. So, in terms of liquidity, though, the reason why it's important to maintain an understanding of what your current financials are at all times, but maybe most importantly, what is your liquidity status? Because whenever you choose to do a deal, how you're going to pay for that, if you're borrowing money or if you're just going to fund it yourself, you need to know your cash status. So let's play out two scenarios. Let's say that you're going to purchase a property and renovate it with the intent of, quote unquote, flipping it. Not a buy hold, we won't even go into that. We'll just talk about a standard. I'm buying it, I'm renovating it, I'm selling it, all right? And you look at your bank accounts and say, all right, I don't have the ability to buy the entire property, pay my attorney fees, pay my carry costs, pay for the renovation, pay for the expenses at sale. I don't have the ability to pay for all of that without borrowing some money. So you're going to a lender. Whether that is an institutionalized lender or a private lender, this still applies. Okay, and what applies is your liquidity status, because in either case, one or the other is going to ask for, maybe not in as much detail as the other, but they're both going to ask for proof that you have the ability to carry the reserves needed during that project. Okay, so let's say that you're buying a property for $200,000 and you're putting $75,000 into it because you think you can sell for whatever amount. Okay. So you're buying it for $200,000. Well, an institutionalized lender, whether they are a hard money lender or a traditional bank, you're going to be putting some percentage down. So let's say that you're getting an 80% loan to value ratio. So you're borrowing $200,000 for the purchase, you're putting $75,000 into it. So you need, God, I can't do math today. You need call it $50,000, okay, or $52,000. That's your down payment amount because that's the borrowed cost of the loan. Now, if they say, well, it's going to be 80% on the purchase price and then 100% of the loan value for rehab, so then it's just 20% on the purchase price of $200,000, so that's $40,000. So you have to show that cash in the bank. So let's say you have $50,000 in your bank account and you're going to use 40 of it now for the down payment on the purchase. Well, the lender's going to look at you and go, we require at least 3 months, preferably 6 months reserves, so on your carry costs and everything that goes with it. All right, well, if your interest rate, because you're borrowing it on a bridge loan, if your interest rate is, say, 12%, because you're getting a crappy rate, well, 12% of $200,000 on a 12-month basis, you're spending, or $180,000, you're spending, call it $1,800 a month, making up a number, as your interest payment for that property, okay? Well, if that's the case and you need 6 months reserves, you need a little over $10,000. You have no money in your bank account, right? Your liquidity status is critical because it's going to be what helps you get a more favorable deal because you can borrow against it. Meaning, if you have $100,000 in the bank account, the lender's going to look at that and say, there's no concerns about your ability to cover the reserves. And they may also say, all right, do you want to put more into the deal? Because if you put more into the deal, you're lowering the interest costs that you have. So you've used cash to lower your interest rate because you have to keep in mind that your bridge loan is a 12-month loan. You're not extending this. This isn't a mortgage. This is just an interest payment. So if you can reduce the cost of interest up front and save money on the back end, it may be worth doing so by putting 30 or even 40% into the deal up front. If you have the cash to cover the reserves and you don't require the cash to cover the rehab because you're borrowing that in escrow. Now let's play out the scenario saying that you have all of the cash you need to purchase and rehab it. Great. So you've got 300 grand sitting in the bank, and you've decided I'm going to buy the property for 200 grand. I'm going to put 75,000 into it. I got myself $25,000 cushion. That's a terrible idea, because let's say you have a 10% contingency built into it on that 275,000. Well, that's 27 grand right there. If you have that above and beyond to say, well, just in case, you've wiped out all cash you have. What if you have to buy something? What if you have to deal with something? What if the market just sours on you and you got to hold that property longer? The use of cash and what your cash status is essential, knowing it. But knowing what's the right use of cash is even more important. I am a huge proponent of, with bridge loan purchases, borrow the money. Borrow the money. Bake in the cost of money into your deal. Know that that's what you're going to deal with up front. Reduce your cash use up front so that you reserve as much cash as possible in the event that you, A, need it because something came up, B, want to go pursue another deal, C, decide you want to put more into the project because you think you can improve it even more so, and it's above and beyond, but it's your choice to do so. The point is you need the flexibility. So liquidity is more than just making sure you have money in the bank account for projects, though. Because liquidity is also, I have to have operating funds for my business, for my marketing, my sales calls, my direct mailing, my data systems, the data I'm purchasing, whatever it is that you're using to create deal opportunities, however you're creating your marketing, your sales team, whatever it may be, how you're reimbursing. If you have other deals flowing and you're paying as a percentage of deal value, when are you paying that? Up front, at the close, whatever. There's other operating cash that you require. So know your liquidity, know where you stand, know how everything is baked in. And in some cases, if you're not really that sophisticated with how you're managing your money, you may want to keep two separate bank accounts for your business. You may want to have an operating account, which is your day-to-day operation, and that's just going to be, I keep $12,000 in the account, and that's $1,000 every month that I keep there to cover my business expenses for office supplies, data that I'm buying, whatever, I'm making it up. And then you have a second account that's going to be your project account. That's where you're going to put cash whenever you're working on a project or multiple projects. But you have to have really good systems in place to keep the accounting intact, especially on that second account. Because as you have multiple deals going at the same time, let's say you're buying all your material from Home Depot. All right, yeah, you can put a project job name on it. But if you don't know where your money is going at any given point in time, that account's going to get messy really, really fast. But again, then you got to pay for those cards, so you got to know your liquidity so you know where your cash is going, so we know when you pay those things down. Anyhow, just know your numbers. But make sure that you know where your cash is and you know what your 6, 9, and 12-month view is on that cash use. Because otherwise, you're going to find yourself sitting there one afternoon going, I'm running out of cash. How am I finishing this project? Or worse, finished the project, paid the bills, vendors are all clear, materials paid, I'm good to go, but holy Christmas, the price I need to sell this at is not happening in this market right now for whatever reason, and I'm not prepared to lower the price because I think I can get it, but I may be carrying it now for 2, 3, 4, 5 months more. What if you have to refi the project? So if you borrowed money from a lender, the lender says, well, your bridge loan is due in 12 and you finished the project in 8, but you don't think you can get it off market in 4 months. You may need 5 months because of market condition. You decide, okay, I got to refinance out the bridge loan because now I'm going to turn it into a buy hold for at least a period of time. Well, now you got to season the property with tenants, blah, 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 blah. You got to refinance it. If the lender looks at you and says, okay, I can do the refi, but you got to pay points. And by the way, I'm going to make you do that out of the proceeds on the refi. What if you're only getting 75% loan to value on the refi? Did you get enough to clear the deal? Know your cash status. Know how your numbers work. Know what your if you're borrowing money, know where your cost of money is and where it's going. You got to know it. You got to know it. All right. See you guys later. Catch you.